For offensive and defensive linemen, hitting with their heads when they come off the ball is standard practice in the game of football. But recent studies have found that repetitive blows to the head of even moderate force can lead to chronic traumatic encephalopathy and other degenerative brain diseases. Studies of college and high school players have shown that it's commonplace for linemen to suffer 1,000 to 1,500 blows to the head in the course of a single season. The magnitude of these numbers suggests that in football, for players on the line, hitting means hitting with your head. Whether it's a case of coaches instructing players to put a hat on someone, or whether players are simply inadequately trained to hit any other way, the outcome is the same. For any situation where a lineman has to make contact with his opponent, the only thing he's prepared to do is lead with his head. If nothing is done in the game of football to improve the technique that linemen use to hit each other, then a young lineman starting out can expect to automatically take thousands of blows to the head over the course of his career. There's no way this can be allowed to go on in light of the health risk that we now understand that repetitive head trauma poses. For the help of the player and the game itself, something needs to be done now. HitSmartFootball is a training program that uses boxing to teach players how to hit with their hands instead of their heads. Because while no particular skill is needed to headbutt somebody, punching is a different story. Learning to punch correctly and to move in position to punch efficiently requires training. With HitSmart, players get that training and the repetition they need to develop their skill at the way they use their hands and feet together to create leverage, first in a boxing context and then in a football context. HitSmart trains each player in the sweet science of boxing so that they can punch effectively with both hands from 3 different angles, moving in all 4 directions. And when they start to get that, we show the players how to translate their new punching skill into the techniques they're taught on the football field. Every technique in the game of football that players use to block or beat a block calls upon the player to use his hands to do so. By improving the power, speed, and accuracy of the way a player puts his hands on his opponent, HitSmart helps the player play safer, more effective football. This guy is an offensive lineman who recently signed a rookie contract with an NFL team. He came to HitSmart last summer before his senior season in the Big Ten. On his first day at HitSmart, we asked the player to demonstrate his drive blocking technique on the heavy bag. Predictably, his technique was to hit the bag with his forehead. His hands were completely inactive until after his head hit the bag, at which point the player began to extend his arms out to the locked-out position as he drove his feet forward. This is Football 101. It's the way the drive block is taught and executed at all levels of the game all across the country. It also means automatic repetitive head trauma for every player every time they drive block somebody. Further, any improvement the player makes to get off the ball harder or to become bigger and faster will only increase the force of every blow to the head he takes every time he leads with his head. This player trained with HitSmart for 4 weeks, and in that time, the improvement he made at incorporating his hands into his drive block technique was dramatic. Now that he's developed some skill at punching, the player is able to come out of his stance and get his body weight into his hands and onto the target with his arms fully extended and his brain as far away from the contact as he can get it. This is the difference between punching and headbutting. And not only is the player's brain better positioned to contact, he's in a better football position as well. By using his hands, he's able to hit harder, faster, and with more range. He's better balanced on contact, and now on his first step, his arms are in the fully extended, locked-out position that used to take him 3 steps and a shot in the head to get into. Football's a rough game, and there will always be occasions when players' helmets collide. These collisions just can't continue to be an automatic part of every lineman's experience. At HitSmart, our goal is to remove as many blows to the head from our players' football experience as we can. If you'd like to do the same thing for your players, contact HitSmart right away. By improving their skill and confidence at hitting with their hands, HitSmart will give your players an alternative to hitting with their heads and limit their exposure to the brain damage that comes from repetitive blows to the head. Remember, to hit smart, you have to think with your head and hit with your hands. HitSmartFootball.